Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to take a look at a security tool known as Armitage. So before we begin with the installation, we first need to create an environment for it. So first of all, we'll need two virtual machines, that is Kali Linux, which is the operating system that supports Armitage. And second is the virtual machine, which is going to be a target. So it will be a very vulnerable, very insecure virtual machine, which we are going to exploit for demonstration purposes. So first of all, we need to install Kali Linux. So I'm going to search it, Kali Linux download, get Kali, and then we'll go to the virtual machines page. So here we have three options: VMware, VirtualBox, and Hyper-V. So VMware and VirtualBox are the most popular options. However, for this demonstration, we are going to use the Hyper-V version. So I'm going to download this. By default, it comes in .7z file format, which I have already installed. So I'm not going to download this virtual machine again. So since we are using Hyper-V, we first need to install that application. So to install that application, first of all, you'll need to have a Windows 10 or Windows 11 Pro version, because in the default home edition of Windows, Hyper-V isn't supported. In that case, you can go ahead with VirtualBox, which is free, and VMware, which is also free. So here, as you can see, I have Windows 11 Pro. I'll show you how to install Hyper-V first of all. You just need to search features. So under settings, when you go to system and optional features, you get another option here, more Windows features. So we just need to wait here. So here you need to enable three features. One is Hyper-V, and if you scroll down, you also need to enable mm, virtual machine platform and Windows hypervisor platform. So after these three have been enabled, what your system will ask you to do is it will download some resources and it will ask you to reboot your system. So you need to reboot and come back to this tutorial. So after you have rebooted, first we'll go to the location where we have downloaded this virtual machine. So the location is VMs. Yeah. So after you have downloaded and extracted your Kali Linux virtual machine, it will look something like this. So what you need to do is you need to run this install under -vm.batch file, this as administrator. So what it will do is it will add an entry in your virtual machine program. So you need in a search box, you need to type in Hyper-V manager. So here, as soon as you install this script, you will get this entry Kali Linux Hyper-V AMD64. So with this, your virtual machine has been installed. But that's just half of the battle. We also need to install the metasploitable virtual machine, because at the end we can't go on with running all these malicious scripts and exploits on a real person's computer. So we need to create our own virtual machine which we are going to exploit. So we also need to download metasploitable in the same way. We'll go to the download page, metasploitable download. From here you can download metasploitable and you will need to extract it in the same way. So by default, what you will get is you will get a VMDK file. So VMDK file is compatible with VMware exclusively. It's not even compatible with VirtualBox. So since in this tutorial we are going to use a hypervisor, Hyper-V, we need to convert this .vmdk file to vhdx file, which I have already done, but I'll still show it in this tutorial. So for this, you're going to need a tool known as, written this down here. So you'll need a tool known as Starwind. So in the Starwind converter, what you need to do is click on local file, next, choose your file, which is .vmdk file, open, next, local file, next, vhdx, next, and then vhdx pre-allocated image, next. And if I click on convert, the file will automatically be converted, which I've already done, so I won't need to do it again. So I'm closing this tool as of now. Now coming back to a virtual machine. So when we have our Kali Linux virtual machine, we need to do some basic configuration. We need to go to settings, and you can choose the memory size. I have chosen 2 GB instead of the usual 4 GB, because I need to run two virtual machines. And for processors, out of the 6 cores in my device, I have chosen to allocate it 2 cores. Apart from that, you don't need to change anything in Kali Linux as such. but you do need some work here for Metasploitable. So by default, you won't get this virtual machine entry. What you need to do is go to Action, New, Virtual Machine. You can name this Metasploitable 2. You need to go to the installation option. Uh, you need to go to the Connect Virtual Hard Disk option. You need to click on Use an existing virtual hard disk, Browse, and here you can select that file that we just converted here, Metasploitable. You have to select this VHDX file, and then you will get this entry. But still we are not done. We need to change some key things. First, you need to go to the settings, assign the memory, assign the processors, and the most important thing is what you need to do is, by default, we have network adapter instead of the legacy network adapter. So what we need to do is we need to click on remove, and after that we need to go to the hardware, click on legacy network adapter, and then add it. So I'm not doing these steps, and I'm just dictating these steps because these steps have already been done on my part. So now that we are all set up, we can first of all run our vulnerable machine, which we are going to exploit here. So we are going to right click on it and click on start. And we also need to connect to it. So it might take some while starting up. I'll close this browser window as of now. So by that time, what we could do is we could connect to our Kali Linux instance. We'll click on connect, start. We are going to maximize this window. So by default, the username and password for Kali Linux is Kali and Kali, Kali, Kali. Done. Seems that we need to reconnect to this session here. Let's see what's the issue. Let's try this again. So I have fixed the issue. So that's why people usually don't use hypervisor. You get some issues like this. So now, now that I have fixed that, so first of all, you won't get Armitage installed in Kali Linux by default. It used to be bundled in with Kali Linux, but it's no longer the case. So to install it, you'll need to go to the terminal emulator, and then you need to execute these commands in specific. Sudo apt get update. You can do simple copy paste here. You need to enter your admin password, and then you will need to install the second command, sudo apt install Armitage. Since I have already installed Armitage, it's not prompting me to install it again. Then we need to start these two services, which I'm not going to do because you know the process of how to execute the commands. So after you run all of these commands, you can be rest assured that Kali Linux has been installed in your in Armitage has been installed in Kali Linux instance. So what you need to do is go to applications, search for Armitage, open it up, type in your password Kali. By that time, okay, yeah, connect, click on yes, and it will take a while, but it will open up the program here. So by the time, we also need to do what we need to do is we need the IP address of our victim machine, which is this Metasploitable 2. So we'll use the default credential, that is msf admin, msf, ms, msf admin. So the thing about Linux is the passwords you type out, they are not visible to you. So you need to be extra cautious. So as we need the IP address, I'm going to type in IP config. So now that we have this IP address 172.19.104.218, we need to note it down somewhere. So what I'll do is I'll type it out here. The IP address is 172.19.104.218. 172.19.102. Perfect. So we'll minimize this virtual machine as of now. We will copy this IP address So this is our Armitage tool. I'll get to it. First of all, we need to check that whether the target machine is reachable to us or not. So for that, we'll need to do ping and then followed by the IP address. So since we are getting a response, so that machine is in the same network and we can communicate with that machine. So I'll explain you the basic user interface of Armitage first of all. So here we have the Armitage tab. Here we can create a new connection. We can set up a proxy. The view option here is used to change the UI to your liking. In host, you can add your own host, add your victims that you're going to exploit. In attack section, you can either automatically find attacks or you can use the Hail Mary option. So what Hail Mary option basically is that suppose you have a virtual machine, you have a target. So it doesn't care about being deceptive with the attacks at all. It uses every tool, every exploit at its disposal with the sole purpose of destruction and denial of service instead of being stealthy about it. Another is the workspaces, and in help you can find all the documentation here. Now let me explain you the folder structure here. So first is the auxiliary. So these are all the modules available. So in auxiliary, you get all the modules which are not related to exploiting, but they are complementary, like crawling the web pages, gathering information. Another is the exploit. So this is the main crux of hacking. So when you're trying to exploit a device, these are the scripts that are going to run, that are going to give you unauthorized access into a system. Next comes the payload. Suppose you already have the unauthorized access to a system. Now you need to use it to your advantage. You need to install backdoors and stuff. So that's where payloads comes into picture. And next is post. So after exploitation, if you need to cover up your tracks and do other stuff, that's where the post modules come into picture. So another thing that I forgot to mention is Armitage in itself is just a graphical user interface for Metasploit. So Metasploit is a really advanced tool that we use for exploitation. And using Armitage, it becomes really easy to use Metasploit. So let's begin with our actual attacking. So this is the offensive use case, offensive scenario. So before we choose an exploit out of these many exploits, we first need to know some information. We need to gather some intel about our target. So we are going to the host tab here. We're going to click on Nmap scan. So Nmap, you might already know, it's a scanning utility and it's been integrated into the Armitage tool itself. We need to go to quick scan. So first of all, we need to get to know what operating system the virtual machine is running so that we can tailor the exploit and we can narrow down what exploits to actually use. We are going to paste in IP address, click on OK. So it's going to run an entire Nmap scan here. It might take a while. So as we can see, the scan has been completed. We get to know the list of all the open ports. So you might be aware that FTP is an insecure protocol and it's not encrypted. And FTP is the most common, it's not the most common, but it's one of the ports that attackers look for. And if the FTP port has been left open, has been left enabled, attackers will definitely try to use this protocol to hack into your system. So that's exactly what we are going to do now. So first of all, as you can see, we have scanned our target. So this is our target machine. It's running on Unix based on the Linux kernel. So what we are going to do is click on exploit. So since we have this Unix operating system, we'll go to the Unix tab here. And since we are targeting the FTP protocol in specifically because it's really insecure, we'll go to FTP. And here, as you can see, we have three options. And here we have VS FTPD as the protocol version. So we'll select this exploit which corresponds to the name. We'll double click it. So now I'll explain you the four parameters that are here. One is the L host, L port, R host, and R port. L host is localhost, the computer that is performing the attacks. L port is the port number of the computer that is performing the attack. R host is the IP address or addresses of the victims of the attacker. R port is the address is the port number of the victim. So since FTP has the port number of 22, all of these values are default values. We just need to add in our victim IP, which is the metasploitable to virtual machine, and then click on launch. So now we just have to wait. So it does happen that when you run this exploit, it may not work on the first try. If that's the case, you just have to double click on this and repeat the process all over again. So since you can see this lightning graphics here, you can be assured that the exploit has been successful. As you can see, the exploit was run and we found the shell and the shell was opened. So let me tell you what shell actually means. So in Windows, how we have command prompt, in the same way, every Linux or Unix operating system has a terminal or shell. So we basically have the shell access in the victim's computer. So basically we have the command prompt access. We can execute any command, we can run any programs, we can download any programs, we can upload any files, view sensitive information. So since we have the shell access, let's log on to the victim's computer and see what we can find out. We just need to go to shell and interact. And we need to wait for a while. Even this may not work with the first try. So you just need to repeat the process which I just showed you, starting from double clicking this exploit. Let's wait for a while. Yeah, as you can see, now we have shell access. If I click on type in ls, we have the entire file system. We can even change our directory to home directory, and then we can see all the files. We can read all the files. We can go see the user files here. We can list all the files. So basically, this is not my current operating system. This is the operating system of the metasploitable machine. So once the attacker has access, we can deploy all these payloads here, and your machine has essentially been compromised. So that was it for the offensive showcase, since we have already exploited the machine. So now let's see how the Armitage tool can be used for defensive purposes. So to be honest, the defensive capabilities of the Armitage tool is pretty limited. But what we could do is, if you see here, under the host section, we can run nmap scans here. We can click on intent scan. And if we scan a virtual machine, it tells us all the open ports, all the vulnerable services that are running on our operating system. And we can get an idea that what ports we need to secure. And we also have another alternative that we can use MSF scan, which is Metasploit Framework Scan. We'll use the same host IP address. We'll click on run. It pretty much gives us the same output as the nmap, but still it uses the Metasploit framework in backend. It takes more time. So as you can see, we have all the vulnerable ports here, and it will keep on running. It will tell you what port and what services are running. So this was the defensive use case. So that was it for this video, and I hope I have covered the offensive and the defensive capabilities of the Armitage tool pretty well. So once you're done with your exploiting shenanigans, you just have to close this out. We are going to close this virtual machine. We are going to close this other virtual machine. And once you're done, you just need to click on turn off and shut down. So now both of these virtual machines have been stopped. So that was it for this video, and thanks for watching.